So the ODYs were assigned names, and we used them. But when we did jobs like out in the world, we used, of course, some like part of our human name, that our vehicle's name. So my middle name of my vehicle is Robert, so I used Robert as my first name, and that was to disassociate with that old name and that old identity. But then when we did the Beyond Human series, Doe didn't want to use ODYs on the film because he felt like that name was really to be used between us only, between the members of the class, not for the general public. And so that's why on that Beyond Human series tape, when I was participating in the first couple hours of that, I was called Sawyer, and June Odie was called June, and Alex Odie was Alex, and Song Odie was Song, and Glenn Odie was Glenn, and so on and so forth. Now, then when some returned, we had some that were in like a halfway situation in Dallas, Texas, when we were in California. That's when the Beyond Human series was taped in California, in a warehouse. We actually had trailers, a bunch of trailers, pop-ups and big trailers and a 40-foot trailer, all inside a warehouse. And we were set up to live there like a camping situation. We had intercom and between them all, and we had the sewer pipes going to the we had electric lines, and we had TVs in each one of them. Well, I don't know if we had TVs in each one of them, or we had at that point, because we had a room that was like an office. I don't know if we used that for TV, but we had satellite dishes on the roof. Because I helped put them up there with Lagodi was the primary, and I was his secondary on a lot of the video tasks. And Surodi did a lot of video, the technical parts of the video tasks, and any electronic things. But anyway, at that point, around that time, right before the Beyond Human series, we were given names that were Doty was the last four initials, D-O-T-E. So I was S-W-Y-D-O-T-E. And that was basically saying that we had succeeded, and we had passed our final exam at that point. But Doe then thought that, didn't feel right about that after he put it into motion. Since I'm talking about names, there was a time before the Doty name that that he gave us, each of us, Doe did, and this was like in 1992 or 3, he gave us a Hebrew name. And so I was Bezel, which was in the Moses camp, he helped with, well, he was supposedly the chief architect Moses used for the design of the tabernacle, I think, and the Holy of Holies, that tent. If you want to look it up, but it doesn't, it doesn't make any difference if that was the vehicle. But that would be so I would think that would be the vehicle that became Soyoti, which Soyoti is the individual that was taking over my vehicle, this vehicle that's in front of you. And so which might have been related to the Stephen vehicle 2,000 years ago with Jesus. I mean, all those connections do exist with all the members. So it's not like I'm saying, oh, I'm this special saint or blah, blah, blah. Because actually what Tiendo said about thinking about yourself as being somebody in the past, Cleopatra or John the Baptist or whatever you might think it would be, is that why would you want to identify with somebody that you've grown past? Or if you haven't grown past, then why is it a compliment to think of yourself as that person when you've had time to grow to be greater than that person was? So that's next level thinking. So I'm laughing because there's so much next level thinking that is very clear and doesn't have to be that way. For instance, another example is that one could say that T thought that Do was Adam and Enoch and Elijah and Moses, or because Jesus said that only the ones that go back to the next level are taken by the next level, are the ones that came. I always get that scripture mixed up, but you don't physically go back to the next level unless you came from the next level, I think is what they're saying. Now, came from the next level can mean the souls brought back from their next level keeping. See, that's how everything can have multiple meanings that are all true. And that's why Tiendo all along said that this works for now. Because they knew that there were frequently more and more accurate ways of thinking about everything. So, you can't, one thing you can be absolute about is that you can't be absolute about anything. Well, see, I said that in a general way because it's true that you can be absolute about some things, and that is that your older members are trustworthy. You can be absolute about that. And so I just proved myself wrong, right? Right on the spot. That's great. That's always good. I did find that when I would make a statement that was such and so, blah, 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 that it can't be any other way, in my mind, that frequently I was pointed out that I was wrong. And that's why Tiendo gave us the lesson of you could be wrong. That we put in front of saying things. So it's like we have to train the vehicle to actually behave like a member of the next level. And it's not that we were supposed to say, I could be wrong, but it's raining outside. Although it wasn't wrong to get in the habit of saying it in front of everything. And then realizing where you were saying it the most, where it was most applicable, is when there was a decision to be made or a judgment on something that wasn't a fact. But the example that they gave us was, what if your older members told you that the leisure port was polka dot? But you saw the leisure port as like a greenish, a light green. Now the leisure ports were these tents that we had when we were living in tents for the couple of years, or 2, 3, or 4 years that we were living in tents between Wyoming and Texas, both Wyoming and Texas, a little bit in Utah, a little bit in New Mexico. And then later on, well, now I won't go into that, but anyway, The leisure ports were these tents that they had sides. Let's see. They were designed to where the walls, you could take the walls out and it would still stand. So what T and Do did was they put the leisure ports in a long corridor and opened up the sides that they wanted to open up so that there would be a tent right next to it, and everything would zip together because we had the tents that went with the leisure ports, and they all zipped together. So basically, you had one long corridor that was like a building. You know, it was like those buildings that you see like in the Arctic. You know, those round things that they make. And we had that in Wyoming, and we had a couple of them. And I think they were even connected, were they right next to each other? And then T and Do had a trailer at that time. Anyway, but so the leisure ports were these light greenish looking. So the example of this, I could be wrong, was what if your older members told you that the leisure ports were polka dot? You know, and your eyes would look at them and say, the question was, would you see them as polka dot? Now, that did a number on my brain. Like, that I thought, how can I see it as something it's not? But what if your older members can see something that you can't? But that by agreeing, by believing that they see it and you don't, then you start to draw in their mind that allows you to physically see what they see. Which I didn't think about that at all way back when I was in the group. I was with them. When they said about the polka dots, I just thought that meant that we were training ourselves to trust the older member. But I always thought, I guess on the side, that they wouldn't tell us they saw the leisure port as polka dot if it wasn't. See, because I hadn't, I believe, grown to see that they could literally see something that I couldn't see. And we had a lesson in sight, in being able to see more, that T gave us. There was an exercise, and the exercise was that you would look at something close up, okay? No, the idea was to focus on something a little bit distant. Like I'm going to look at a small object. Let's see. So I'm going to look at the word multi-mix on this box that I've got, which is a mixer for music. Multi-mix. I'm going to look at that. And it's about 20 yards away at the most. Not even. Anyway, but I can read multi-mix. And now I'm going to look at that, and then I'm going to change my focus so that I see I don't see the multi-mix. Because when I'm focused on multi-mix, all I should see is multi-mix. I mean, maybe I'm still going to say still see a little peripheral vision, but maybe if I was better able to focus, maybe all I would see would be multi-mix. Maybe T was able to focus like that. I got some indications that she definitely had better focus. And I'll tell you about that after this one. But then the exercise, and you do this fast. Then the exercise is to broaden your vision so that you see out the periphery better. So you see everything. You take in the whole room. And then you go back to taking in just the multi-mix sign. And then you go back to the whole room. And then you do the multi-mix sign. And you go back to the whole room. And the multi-mix sign. And you go back to the whole room. And I guess what you're doing is you're changing your pupil size. And T said that would help us see more of what there is to see. Remember, T and Do said that there could be next level members around us that are actually physical that we can't see them because we haven't raised our vibrations to see them. And the way, I guess raising your vibrations to see them the way I see that now is believing that it's possible. That's raising your vibrations. To see more and to see something that otherwise you wouldn't think was possible to be there. And so the other little thing Doe told us is when we were going down the road, driving like from one campground to the next, like we were going down to Texas, having lived in Wyoming, by the way, which was largely the Medicine Bow National Forest in the Vidavoo camping area of the Medicine Bow National Forest, between Wyoming, between Laramie, closer to Laramie and Cheyenne, but closer to Laramie. That's where we gathered on just about a day or so away from the 4th of July. It might have been exactly on the 4th of July for most of the members. That was right after the harvest was ended. So it was 1976, July 4th, that we first gathered there. And that's where the classroom actually started. Before that, it was not really the classroom. We weren't focused on the overcoming. We were focused on giving the information out. And that's why I tell people now that the task seems to start with sharing the information. That brings you a certain amount of lessons and working and able to raise your vibration, because as you talk about next level information, you're actually giving it away. You're giving that mind away to somebody else. And it's a seed. So you're working for the next level by planting seeds. And if you use the next, and I think that it's better to use the next level information, terminology that T and Doe brought more. I mean, you know, you can't do that. You can do it with Christians, but it's going to blow their minds. But the ones that are really still seeking, they'll push through it, and it'll boggle their minds a little, and that's okay, you know, because they'll go away, and even if they don't get much more than, like you said, that it was an evolutionary level above human, a physical evolutionary kingdom level above human, the same way. And I always follow it with the same way as human is above plant and plant is above mineral, or animal is above plant. I'm sorry, and human is above animal. And some people say to me that they don't think human is above animal because of the way humans act. Well, that's because humans do act like animals sometimes. But mammalian humans are, in their nature, like the deer. They're gentle. I mean, not that they can't get angry and fight. I'm not saying that. But they're generally not predators. The predators come from the lower forces, I believe. I may be wrong about that. T and Doe didn't really, I can't say that they've said that. So that may be wrong. Interesting idea, though. But it doesn't matter. But back to the ODYs. So we lost. So we stopped having. Well, the time that we actually stopped using the DOTE extension names, which we didn't use them much, I don't think, because we still had all our schedules that were using the first 3 letters. Like soy was used in all our schedules because it fit. It made good charts, for our tasks. We had jobs in the Neutral Lab and the Fiber Lab and the improvisational, the Improvement Lab, which was the improvement to the cars, and fixing of things and building, and that was all the Improvement Lab that Alex Odie was an overseer of. and and I'm not going to go there. Distraction, but right about that time, after we sent out the Beyond Human tapes, and some of the people from some of the members of the class from the halfway house, so to speak, if you want to call it that, where Bran Odie was, and some others. But Bran Odie, to get past her difficulty with her reoccurrence of polio, so she couldn't walk very well at all. She had to have these crutches. Her legs were all twisted up. And Doe felt at one point that she should be on her own. And at first she was with somebody else, and then she was on her own. She had a job. And when she got her independence, she was a much healthier mindset. When she had a very negative mindset, and Doe for a while thought that she might just curl up and die. And he was very concerned about that, not only for Bran Odie's vehicle and the soul that was using Bran Odie's vehicle for the cocoon, for their own birth, but what would they do with the vehicle? You know, how would that affect the classroom? Because Doe was not in charge of just one individual. He was given the task to take care of the birth of all those students. And that was given to him as a task by his father, so by his older member, by T. And so he didn't take that lightly at all. So he was always concerned with security and that the classroom wouldn't end. And that was one of the reasons why he didn't, well, I'm not going to go there, but so then there were some individuals that were in a halfway situation that ended up going back into the world, basically, not living by the next level ways. So they had girlfriends and things like that. I think Tall Odie was one of those. Tall Odie ended up, but they ended up rejoining because of the Beyond Human tapes. They asked if they could rejoin because we were in touch with them, most of them. And if we weren't in touch with them directly, we were in touch with them through Bran Odie, who we were always in touch with. Because she didn't re-stimulate her human behaviors. And anyway, so and I was at that halfway house as a helper sometimes. And we used that halfway house to stay in when June Odie went and I, or maybe it was Check Odie and I, went down there to do a preliminary meeting before the '94 meetings. But anyway,